Welcome to this short film in which I'm going to have a look at the processes involved in designing a poster for the Grimsthorpe Speed Trials. This is the poster I did a couple of years ago. The brief was to have a car and a motorcycle, vintage ones, racing towards the house in which the event takes place. Or the grounds. It doesn't take place in the house, it's in the grounds of the house. For inspiration, I was looking at these old race posters, which are just amazing. Really dramatic, wonderful colours, and a great combination of text and image. Graphic design isn't something that I've studied, so I struggle a bit in that area, and it's something I need to improve upon, really. For the main subject this year, I wanted to include this MG type, which is a car which Richard, the organiser of the event, has acquired recently, and he's been painstakingly restoring it, bringing it back to the condition you see in these period photos. So I thought started off by doing a few very, very rough thumbnails just to work out which angle to draw the car from. So there was a sort of high front view, top bird's eye view, which kind of is a bit like this Stutz Black Hawk picture that I did a few years back. Then there's a direct front view, which could be very dramatic. It could be quite fun. But I was aware that they probably would want a motorbike again. So I thought, well, maybe a diagonal composition like this would work, and you could include the motorbike. These are the roughs for the previous year's ones. In the end, Richard chose the bird's eye view and the motorbike, so that kind of ruined my symmetrical idea, but I'm sure I'll probably make it work somehow in the end. So I began drawing on the iPad with the Procreate app, and I set up the document to have a symmetry tool enabled, so that meant I only had to draw half the car, which is quite a good time saver, and it just meant that there wouldn't be any problems with the car not looking symmetrical by the end of it. So I'm just this is a very rough sketch, purely to get the basic proportions out, just to make sure that I've got the right length and width, and the gap between the wheels is roughly right. So there's a bit of cutting and pasting, that kind of thing. Then that drawing is on one layer, and I make that layer much more transparent and work on a new layer above to clean all of those lines up a bit, because as I said, the initial sketch is really quite rough and scribbly. So there's areas like the wheels where I need to be a bit clearer, firm things up a bit. So that's, you go over the whole drawing all over again, going in and firming up those details that you just put in as a rough scribble to start with. Quite weird drawing a driver from above. It's not something you see very often. Actually, the motorbike rider gave me more of a headache than the driver of the car. I think motorbikes are again something that I haven't had a huge amount of experience in drawing. So here we are, a bit of copying and pasting of the wheels, and a sketched in bike rider. And now I can start on adding some colour. So I'm working on another new layer, and this layer is beneath the pencil sketch. That way I can add colour without destroying the lines, and so I can still see where I am on the page, where I'm working. So it's quite good just to do that under the lines for the very rough block-in of basic colours, because there's a lot of experimentation at this stage. So I'm not doing anything too accurate, I'm just sort of throwing the colours down. And then I start to think about the direction of the light. I thought it probably makes most sense if the cars and if the racers are zooming towards the light. So I started to lighten up the front faces of the car and the motorbike rider, the driver. Once that stage is done, I create another new layer, and this one's on top of the pencil layer, so on top of the lines. And I'm still painting, sort of using a sort of square paintbrush, but this time I'm gradually obscuring all the line work. So the aim is eventually to be able to lose the line work altogether. And that's what I'm doing here, is just switching the lines on and off just to see, does it look better or worse? Do I still need some lines? I decided in the end that I would hide the initial quite sketchy lines and then just draw with this pencil tool just a few sort of carefully chosen thinner lines over the top. I think these thin lines, they're highlights and things, and they contrast nicely with the big, broad, painty brush strokes, which can be quite soft and, yeah, sort of vague. So you just got a few areas that are a bit sharper. And there's pretty much the finished painting stage. And at this point I was thinking, I wonder if the composition would work better diagonally, because it wasn't working, it wasn't symmetrical anymore, having a car and a bike. So the diagonal thing, I thought, yeah, that adds a bit of dynamism. And I thought, well, a poster's not very eye-catching if it's grey. I wonder if I can introduce a bit of colour, and I went for this kind of turquoise in there, which I think the silver car stands out nicely against. So then I had to do a bit of tidying up and to add my signature. I think I also added just a little bit of paper texture as well to the whole thing. Digital pictures can look very clean and clinical, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed seeing the process, and hope to see you at the event next year, all being well.